If you've ever played Salmon Run, then you know Mr. Grizz is obsessed with collecting golden eggs. But have you ever wondered,
who is Mr. Grizz?
Trinity?
Some would say Mr. Grizz is the statue. I mean, you're not wrong, but I feel like there's more to it. Yes, Mr. Grizz is a statue, but if you've noticed, Mr. Grizz has an antenna sticking out of his head. So I figure that the statue is actually just a radio. It's almost like a disguise for the actual Mr. Grizz to not give away his true identity and to just tell the Inklings what to do during their shifts at Grizz Industries from a faraway, mysterious location. So my theory is that Mr. Grizz is actually a jelly. And this is because jellies sort of sponsor the Inklings turf war. And they provide them stuff, like food, clothes, and maybe even some kind of job, just like Grizz Industries. And this sort of was confirmed by Mr. Nogami himself during an interview for Octo Expansion. Someone asked the question, what is the role of the jellies? And he responded by saying something about sponsorships and providing things. So, there you go. Mr. Grizz is secretly a jelly who has monopolized the entirety of Inkopolis and provides for the Inklings. Or is just greedy and provides for the Inklings.
Okay.
You're welcome.
Thanks, Trinity.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Let me know in the comments below. Who do you think is Mr. Grizz?
Okay, so who's Mr. Grizz?
Vian!
I have a theory. It's clear the developers want us to paint him as the villain of the story, and I think it's Nintendo fashion that they wouldn't hint at it being a bear in multiple occasions, such as the statue or the most recent Salmon Run map, just to hide what he actually is. So I think it's safe to say that he's a bear, but what's his motivation to gather eggs or make the salmon extinct? I think it's more than just feeding his belly. I think he was once a pet of the creator behind Tartar, which is kind of crazy to think because it's a bear. But some parts of the world try to keep bears as pets, Russia being one of them. Maybe the creator was even Russian. It wouldn't be his first pet, mind you. He was close with Judd. But still, again, what's the motivation to fight the salmonids? Well, what we learned from Octo Expansion, which was made during the same mindset as Salmon Run, is that the developers are trying to further bring to light the world before Splatoon, with the creator being the main focus. So our last villain was Tartar in Octo Expansion, who justified his motives as avenging, or so Tartar thinks, his presumed now past creator's agenda. What if we assume that the salmonids were just an experiment gone wrong that led to the demise of the creator? Perhaps that's enough motivation for Grizz to make the salmonids want to go extinct. Wouldn't it be an interesting spin if we found out that Grizz is actually an ally to us, trying to prevent what had happened to the creator from happening to us as well?
That was pretty deep. It would make sense for him to be a bear.
Alright. Hear me out. What if Mr. Grizz is not an animal at all, but actually a human? What if that voice isn't from any time around now? What if it's just an old human recording? I mean, Judd comes from the humans. So what if they found that human recording and decided to use it as an incentive to get some work done? We know nothing about the squid government, so it's totally possible. What if they needed some credible reason so the squids would work? They're pretty carefree. They listen to pretty much anything. So I think if someone told them, oh yeah, there's a bear on the other end telling you to go fight salmon, I think the squids would just be like, this sounds true, sounds good enough, and they'd go and do it. Inklings love anything super flashy and exciting like Turf War, so using Mr. Grizz as an incentive might get them really excited. I don't know about you, but if I was told that there was a bear telling me what to do, I would think that's a little cooler than my boss just saying, Hey Vic, how about you go and you go stop those salmon and you come back later, alright? I don't know, I feel like my crummy job would have a little less purpose if there wasn't some story behind it. Having that fake incentive to make Mr. Grizz happy might just be what the Inklings need to get their job done. Or he could just be a sea bear, like from SpongeBob, but I'd like to think it's a person on the other end.
That does make me wonder if there's any humans left in the world of Splatoon.
Hey Vsauce, Thermite here. What if I told you that Mr. Grizz from Splatoon 2 is actually Sans from Undertale?
Wait, what?
Now, the first step in this theory is to finish the link between the universes of Undertale and Splatoon 2. Fortunately, GameChamp 3000 has already done most of the work for us, but here's another piece of evidence. As you know, the Inkling and Octoling from Splatoon 2 can transform into something that looks like a human. like they're pretending to be a human. Now think back to Sans's dialogue when you meet him during the genocide run. Oh, would you look at that? He remarks that you should continue pretending to be a human, implying that the human of his world is actually some type of monster, or perhaps some type of octopus. Now, Toby Fox loves using anagrams to connect two things together, so how about we use them to connect Grizz and Sans? Now, it looks like they have no letters in common, but trust me, they have all the letters in common. If you move the I from the I in Grizz over to the right side of the G, it starts to resemble a lowercase a, and if you simply extend the curve on the R, boom, you have a lowercase n. Now invert the Z's in Grizz, and then boom, you have S's. Simply rearrange all of those, and then you have Sans. Given Toby Fox's previous patterns, this alone would be enough to prove our theory that Grizz is Sans. However, we may as well compile a little bit more evidence. For example, their speech patterns. Grizz commonly addresses the protagonist as Kid, much like Han Solo does, but that's a different theory. Sans also addresses the protagonist as Kid whenever he talks to them, unless it's the genocide route, of course. Another ability they also share is the use of a G blaster. Now, when you play in Salmon Run, you'll sometimes get a special one of 4 weapons, one of them being a blaster, which is labeled as a Grizzco blaster. Sans, in battle, uses what's known as a Gaster blaster, both of which can be shortened to a G blaster. In addition to sharing a similar name, both of their blasters have the ability to rapid fire. In conclusion, Mr. Grizz is Sans from Undertale. Thank you for watching.
Wait, the video isn't over yet. Geez, this is the only place where I can find some peace and quiet. So, who is this mysterious figure? It's pretty obvious that it's just a statue with a radio antenna, so who's sending its signals? In an interview with Famitsu, actually the same interview that confirmed Octarians and Samanids have a trade agreement, we also learned that the voice is just a recording. What we can glean from this is that whoever Mr. Grizz is, they must be intelligent enough to design a system that properly replays the correct message at the correct time, as well as design a system to collect the information needed to determine when to speak. This doesn't really disqualify anyone from a huge list of potential individuals. However, this next bit does. Grizzco is a company, and by virtue of it being a business, it requires a lot of capital to create. Before you can send employees over to harvest golden eggs from waves of Salmonid, you need to spend a ton of money to set up shop, get boats, get the weapons you will loan out, as well as find all the rewards that you will give to compensate your happy little workers. Starting your own business is no cheap task, and that means that Mr. Grizz is not only someone who's tech savvy, but also someone who has a ton of resources at their disposal. This, of course, leaves us with only one potential candidate to hide behind the wooden statue. That's right, the secret identity behind Mr. Grizz is none other than Marina. The Sans theory made more sense than this. Wait, hear me out first. You see, Marina's the only character in this entire game who knows enough about the Octarian energy struggle, the golden eggs, and Inkling society. She's the only one who could connect all of the dots and come up with a company that would help solve the Octarian energy struggle and give Inkling something fun to do. After all, she learned a lot about Inkling society from her dear Pearly, and who got to see firsthand just how bored Inklings get during Splatfests. Why else would Grizzco be open during Splatfests? She's also the only one tech savvy enough to set up Mr. Grizz and his voice lines, as well as the only other character who would mod weapons for fun, the other being Sheldon. The shoe seems to fit in one last area, the rewards. In order for someone to be able to give out these rewards, you'd need to have a ton of money and resources. And who happens to be a pop star with a very, very rich friend? Not Spike, that's for sure. Marina would have access not only to a lot of money, but also to a ton of brand deals and designers who could help create Grizzco brand clothing, as well as provide plenty of drink tickets and ability chunks. She's basically the Mr. Beast of Splatoon, but in disguise. We could go look at the previous Splatfest sides that she's chosen as well, like Invisibility and Villain? But since there's no definite proof, I just wanted to touch on what this would mean for Grizzco Industries. If someone as sweet as Marina is running everything, then we can expect the golden eggs to be treated with care, and that the overall quality of life in Inkopolis and beyond would improve. We've already seen Octolings come to the surface. Could it be because the energy crisis is being resolved and tensions are finally getting lighter and friendlier? However, that doesn't change the fact that Mr. Grizz is polarizing Inklings and Octolings alike against Salmonid. Makes you wonder if those slimy fish ever did anything to harm Marina. And could this be a potential plot to discover in future games? That's what I think anyways. What about you?
What about me?
Who do you think Mr. Grizz is and why? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoyed the video and this whole Grizzco mini-series in general. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the comments.